Right, Gary, we spoke last week about the importance of being able to put a run together at this stage of the season to push you up the table. You got that win last weekend. Off to Crawley this weekend, hoping to get another one.
Well, you've got to get that first win to start your run, sort of thing, if you're going to have a run. And that was a good one to start with because they were second in the table. Their club expects their team to be promoted automatically. You know, that's the sort of pressure they're under, if you like, and how they see their team. They spent a lot of money on it, and I just felt that we really did get our game going. Another goal or two wouldn't have gone amiss, of course, so that we didn't have to leave it right till the death, but we did. Hopefully we sent everybody home happy. So we're going into the Crawley game knowing the sort of game that we've got to reproduce to win a game up at down at Crawley. And I think the boys are, once you've got a win, you look forward to the next game, and I'm sure, judging by the way the lads have been training, they're looking forward to it. But you know, it's important that we don't now take a breather. You know, we've really got to get into them and play our game and make sure that we cause them a problem. But you know, our away form's not too bad. And so hopefully we can reproduce a couple of our away performances with a bit of the Peterborough game in as well.
Don't know how much you believe in stats, but your away form is identical to Crawley's home form, barring the goal difference. So does that say anything for you?
Oh, you said it all, didn't you? Well, they don't let many goals in, Crawley. They're pretty organised. I know they've scored, they let in 4 against Rochdale, we know that, but generally they haven't been letting goals in, but they haven't scored a lot of goals either. I think that's how we're looking at it. Their shape can be one or two different shapes. We've got to be aware of both of them, but we've also got to be aware that there's a lot of players in their team that we know and that we know of. And we know that they can be quite strong if they all hit it off. I think John Gregory would feel that he'd like to have that team further up the league table, that's for sure. But you can never tell. It's a tight ground and you have to worry about yourselves. But I can't see there being many goals, although I wouldn't mind a 4-3 win.
You mentioned players that you know from Crawley. They've just signed Marvin Elliott, a player you know very well. Are you surprised that it took him so long to find a club?
No, not really. He's been on big wages previously at Bristol City, of course, over the years, and it takes a little bit of time for some players to realise they're probably not going to pick up that wage. But he's a great lad, and he'd be a good signing for anyone that needs his type at this moment. But with us, I had a lot of midfielders, and I know that when they're fit, I'll be looking to put them in the team. I didn't have 2 or 3 weeks to wait for Marvin to get fit, so I didn't want to mess him up anywhere else, and I think he went to a couple of other places and ended up at Crawley. So I'm really pleased that he's got a club, because it would have been a travesty if he wasn't involved at all. But I think Crawley have done that with a couple of lads. A lad from Preston, Keane. They've just brought him in. Josh Wright. They've just brought him in. So and we believe they're looking for another striker. So we'll have to wait and see whether that comes off in the short term.
Probably fed up about talking about injuries, but how is it looking at the moment in treatment room?
Well, I just said to the physios I might have to lay one of them off pretty soon, because we've only got a couple of injuries now, which is good. They'll have to do a 3-day week, each of them. But I'm only joking. I must have said that seriously. Everyone's gone, oh my God, well, there's a scoop. So it's not true. They're both good lads and they're both good players, as we know, as well as physios. So we need them for the practices that we have and the reserve games. So they're more needed for that than physio. But to answer your question, yeah, we've got we had James Hayter back today, and James Barrett, Simon Gillett and Maloney are the only 2 really that are not available for selection. So there's just a couple now, whereas there was 8. I just feel that we're a little bit stronger now, and I'm comfortable going into the next couple of months.
You've spoken in the past about looking at games in blocks of 10. This is the 10th game coming up this weekend. How would you assess the first 9? Has the season gone to plan so far?
Well, no, if it had gone to plan, you'd be top of the league, sort of thing, you know. But if it doesn't go to plan, then you've got to be sure that your team has reached a standard that to aspire to. And I felt we've done that 2 or 3 times this year. We've certainly done it against Peterborough. And if we can play to that standard more often than not, then we'll get ourselves up there where we want to be. Within them 10 games, you have to see that your team can compete, it can score goals, it can win football matches, it can be solid at the back. And you know, we've sort of seen all those things, but we need to see them more often in games and more consistently over games. So I've sort of answered your question, because you can't go after 10 games getting rid of everyone and because you just can't do that. But what you can do is believe that the squad that you brought in is a squad that's good enough to compete, and that's all I've ever said. And I believe this squad is able to compete, and we'll just keep trying to improve it as we go along, as and when certain players become available.
So at the moment you're not actively looking in the loan market, or are you?
No, we're actively looking all the time anyway. If we were top of the league by 20 points, you have to keep actively looking. But it's another thing that when you're sitting at home and you're the manager and you know you've got a game coming up, I've got quite a good feeling about the group of players over the last couple of weeks, that I think I'm hoping we've just turned the corner. We may not win every game, but at the same time I just feel that the penny's dropped with a few of them, which is what I was asking in the first few games. I said when the penny drops, I think we'll have a chance of a good run.
Okay, Gary, thank you.
No problem.